Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Today I'm going to share with you guys a practice that I have been using in my own life for, probably 8, maybe 10 years now. It's something that I call a personal inventory. And I started doing this at the end of each of my days in order to kind of do a self-evaluation on how my day went. I use it to kind of create this balance where I'm giving myself a pat on the back for the things that I'm doing and I'm doing a really good job at. Like, we all need that. We all need some positive reinforcement, especially from ourselves, that what we're doing, we should be proud of and we're good at, and we deserve a big high five for doing something good that day. But then we also need accountability. And accountability, most importantly, from ourselves, where we take a good look in the mirror and admit, okay, these are areas I really dropped the ball today. And when we do that, it kind of frees us from this sense of guilt and shame or negative self-talk that is very counterproductive. So I've been doing this little kind of mini personal inventory every night when I go to bed for, like I said, probably nearly a decade now. And it's helpful. And it really is that simple. I clean up, go to bed, close my eyes, fall into a, 3 to maybe 5 minute meditation, do a little reading, and then as soon as I turn the lights out, I lay there for just a second and don't think about anything else other than, okay, Evie, what did you do a really great job at today? And some days it's hard to find those, right? We've all had those days. And then I ask myself, okay, what conversation did you have that could have gone a lot better had you done your part to be a better human in that conversation? What things at work could you have done a little better job at that would have been more productive and more helpful for everyone? Where did you interact with your family that could have brought about probably more peace and happiness and humor and lightheartedness that we all want in our family? So I do this evaluation and it takes, maybe a minute or so, but it really does help hold me accountable to a higher standard. It gives me, like I said, that balance between, okay, I'm doing a good job at a lot of things at life. And that feels good. And I deserve some personal credit for that. But then also, I don't want to allow myself to let myself off the hook all the time and say, you know what, well, you're just fine the way you are. You guys know that I think this whole idea that you're just fine the way you are is very detrimental. Now, I don't think it's good for people to beat themselves up chronically. Of course not. That's counterproductive. But everybody in the world telling us like you're just fine the way you are isn't helpful. And it actually keeps you from reaching a higher level or a higher sense of potential that you have in your life. I think about this all the time. You're just fine the way you are? Well, no, you're probably not. There are a lot of things we can improve on in our life. And I always think, well, when I was drinking, and I was drinking at least every third day, close to 2-3 bottles of wine a day, right? I ended up having to go away to get help for my problem with alcohol. What if people was I just good enough the way I am? Of course not. That sounds so ridiculous. I wasn't good enough just the way I was. I needed some accountability, and I needed that accountability to come from me. It helps when you get it from others, but ultimately we have to hold ourselves accountable. And so it was when I went away to get help with my alcohol problem that I took this personal inventory to a whole new level. So I still am going to record an episode to really share my whole entire story with my struggle with alcohol, how I think it developed and how it got out of control, how I lost control of my ability to control the use of alcohol in my life, what it took for me to seek help, what that help looked like, and then ultimately like where I am today because I was willing to face that. I'm going to share all of that story with you, but I've been hesitant to do it so far because it's a really powerful topic. And I didn't want to, let's, I guess for lack of better words, I didn't want to speak out of turn. I am not some expert on recovery or drug abuse or alcohol abuse. I'm not. I just have my story to share. And that's valuable, but I really need to be at the right place and put a lot of thought into how I'm going to tell that story. So that's coming. But what you need to know today is when I took this month off, I just call it a hiatus from life. I just stepped away from my life for an entire, I think it was like 21 days. I figured out a lot of shit. And I did a lot of writing. I learned a lot about alcohol that I didn't know. I learned that every day, all day, and I love to learn. So a good portion of my days were spent learning about that, and then also learning a lot about myself. And a big part of my recovery, or I don't even like to call it recovery because it kind of seems like something removed from all of you listening. You're like, well, I don't struggle with alcohol, so I'm not recovering from anything. I really equate it to nothing different than all of us have things that we use as an outlet in our life as escape mechanisms, whether it's food, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's porn, whether it's just our phone and an addiction to social media. We all use something as an escape from our life. So that's why I really don't even like to call my alcohol recovery just like recovery. It's like the new work I'm doing to live the absolute most kick-ass, fulfilled, authentic version of myself. And when I was doing that work while I was away by myself, it was all fine and good and it was powerful. But I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to bring this new me back into the real world? How am I even going to begin to work through things with my family in this new version of me that is no longer wearing these foggy goggles of alcohol? How was I going to do that? And one of the ideas that I came up with was to do what I called, and I have my journal out here today so I can read it to you guys, a personal inventory prayer. So this was in my, like, what am I going to do with my family? And I've implemented this process with my family, and this is what I wanted to share with you guys. So step one is taking a personal inventory, and that is not about all the things you drop the ball on. It is a good balance between the things you need to improve and the things that you did a stellar bang-up job each and every day. And it's so simple, but it is so effective. It keeps you from shaming yourself, and it also gives you some momentum to build into the next day where we all have to just get up and start this whole process over again. It gives you accountability and some momentum to do the things that you're doing a great job at. Keep on doing that shit. But then also keeps you honest with yourself and go, you know what? There's a lot of things that I need to step up my game in. So I thought, well, what better way to help my family embrace this new me that was coming at them? How are we going to work on this together? And our whole family had work to do when I got back from kind of conquering, and I will say conquering, my struggle with alcohol. We all had work to do because we had kind of fallen into roles of like, this is how we interact with one another. And now we were like, well, fuck, what does this look like going forward? So this personal inventory prayer is something that I developed for my family, and I want to pass it along to you because I think it can be so powerful in your life. And if you have a family and still, family living all under the same roof together, even if it's just in a relationship or with your kids, your spouse. I don't care how you use it, but I can tell you it is so powerful. And it's powerful for each individual, and it builds awareness throughout the day. So here's the way it works. We use this personal inventory prayer at dinner time. We eat dinner together as a family. That's not optional in our family. And we probably do it at least 4 days, usually 5 days out of the week. There's 2 parts to it. The first part is we admit or recognize and state out loud a shortcoming. And I had to be careful with this because my daughter's a teenager, and teenagers are hard on themselves. And then my daughter, who is really can tend towards being a perfectionist, I needed to make sure this wasn't an exercise in picking herself apart, because that's not what this is. So how I explain it is our willingness to say out loud our shortcomings to another individual instills humility within us. And we all benefit from humility. And so it's not an exercise in finding out everything we did wrong. It's an exercise really in humility. So we each start with, today I noticed that I was impatient, fill in the blank, whatever it was. One of our shortcomings, something that we noticed that we're like, yeah, I didn't do a really good job at that. And then it is so important, and I wrote this down and I'm going to read it to you, to give thanks to God for a gift He bestowed upon you, which you used that day. So we all have gifts. And it is equally important for us to recognize our gifts as it is our shortcomings. And so while we state and admit out loud a shortcoming to the other people at our table, we follow that up with, and I'm so thankful that I have the gift of, and for me, it's usually communication. That I was able to use my gift of communication, which God gave me, to help someone on the other side of the world. Those are the kind of messages I get. That would be an example of how we use this prayer. And aside from the fact that it just builds some awareness in you, you will notice it has this snowballing effect of making you pay attention, even if it's just because at the end of the day you're going to have to say something during that prayer. It helps you pay attention to the things that you're kind of missing the mark on and you're not doing a real good job on in life. It helps you diminish the number of things that you do that you're not doing a great job at. And what more could you ask for than that? So here's the truth I'm going to leave you with today. You have so much potential to be better every single day. And how you find that potential is developing the perfect balance between challenge and support. And while we expect others to do that for us, the person that needs to do that for us is us. We need to take a personal inventory every single day so that we are providing ourselves with a little bit of challenge and humility, and then an equal amount of support. And that is how we find the most personal growth. So I'm really hoping that you guys implement this in your own life. At least just start with the personal inventory each day for yourself, and then start introducing it to others around you, your family, your friends. Spread the word on this. This is good shit. And it is so simple that it just gets overlooked. But I promise you, it is unbelievably powerful. And then lastly, if you guys like these sort of lessons, this is what I do with my group in my locals account. So it's eviefats.locals.com. And if you're a supporter on there, which is like $5 a month, I think. Yeah, something like that. Maybe $50 a year if you're a yearly subscriber. In there, I just turn on the mic impromptu and we have conversations like this. I share with you all of the things that I'm doing on a daily basis in order to improve myself and in turn improve the world around me. So if you haven't yet, definitely join me over there, eviefats.locals.com. I promise you, you will get a lot out of it. And I love being able to communicate with everybody on a more one-on-one basis. So hope that was helpful. We'll see you next time.